I'm Christopher Heimerman, and today we are going to talk about warning signs. I had the shakes. I had the night sweats. The night sweats were the worst. In treatment, they have you stick your arms out once a day, like this. Now, I've had a couple of cups of coffee. Look how steady those hands are. Yeah, shake free, yo. But every day I would sit there and I would do that and I would try to will my hands to stop shaking. Stop shaking! I'm getting better. And after a few days they did. But I was also on a whole bunch of medications. If you haven't checked it out yet, I just posted on my Facebook page a very interesting article about withdrawals, apart from shakes. I was so flabbergasted that liquor stores are still open. And then, Kayla, my wife, shared with me that there was an article on the fact that they're open because if people quit cold turkey, they're at risk for seizures and other awful, awful withdrawals. So that's why your liquor stores are open. Isn't that the most sad thing you've ever heard? That was pretty rough for me to hear. Okay, let's dive into this thing. Physical tells that somebody that you love has a drinking problem. The shakes, like I said, the night sweats, appetite change, and there's appetite change, then there's also the fact that they might choose to not eat. I didn't eat breakfast a lot of the mornings because I wanted an empty stomach. You can put two and two together and figure out why I wanted an empty stomach. Weight change, doughiness. So often you see I love the photos that people take of each other. Hey, Jay. That people take of themselves every morning from the day that they quit drinking until like a year later. And you see that puffy face. You see it lean up. You start seeing cheekbones. And you start seeing what people are supposed to look like when they're not drinking their way through life or drinking their way toward death. Eyes. Are they glassy? Are they bloodshot? Are they yellow? Those are all tells as well that somebody has a drinking problem. How about patterns? These are huge. And the thing about patterns is they're hard to see, they're hard to identify because you see your loved one every day. So it's going to be harder to spot these things. Whereas if somebody else all of a sudden sees you and you put on 40 pounds over the course of a year, they're going to say, whoa, Christopher blew up. Or, wow, Christopher's face is really doughy. Or, have his eyes always been so sunken and bloodshot? Well, you might not notice that if you see me every day. So, here are some patterns. Working early in the morning, believe it or not. Leaving early for work when you figure, why do they have to be there so early? Staying late at work. Sleeping in later. Isolation. Going to bed earlier. I used to go to bed early whenever I could because I wanted to get as much sleep as I possibly could. Which leads me to another point. If you notice that they are taking sleep aids tonight, it's because they know they're going to get crap sleep, and so they think if they throw some Tylenol PM on it, it might actually help them sleep through the night. I can testify that it only works a little bit, then it stops working, and if you read the possible side effects on those sleep aids, it can cause permanent liver damage. So, in coupling that with a drinking problem, yeah, potentially deadly stuff. Memory loss, especially short-term memory loss. I cannot tell you the number of times that I felt so shameful because Kayla brought up something one day that we had talked about the day before, and not just some frivolous topic, something important. I had no idea what she was talking about, and I had to pretend that I did. It's awful. Mood swings. And this can go either way. It can be going from happy to sad in a split second. If they leave the room and they're one way, they come back and they're another. That's a bad sign. That's a bad pattern. I remember sometimes I would sneak away, I would have a drink, and I came back so happy. And you want to see people happy. So you're not going to see it as a bad thing, possibly. But if that becomes a pattern, yeah, something's up. Again, in that vein, people disappearing without warning. I would tell Kayla if we needed something from the store, I'd say, I'll go get it. I'll go get the buns, the brats, the milk if we're out of milk. There's an excuse for me to sneak away and have a drink. And again, the isolation is absolutely huge. I used to hide in the bedroom in the mornings because I couldn't face the day. I didn't want to deal with myself. So here's a big one: transactions, bank account withdrawals, spending. Those unexplained withdrawals, like cash withdrawals, are huge. And boy, this is gonna hurt, and I should have talked to Kayla leading up. She had given me this little card that said, "I love you today and every day," and I tucked that behind, actually she tucked it behind my debit card, and even though I read that, I would still withdraw 20 bucks and I would spend it on alcohol. The addiction was so intense. Transactions at gas stations. Very easy for an alcoholic to hide a six-pack purchase when they parlay it with filling the gas tank. Grocery stores. Hy-Vee in DeKalb starts selling alcohol at 8 in the morning, which, I don't know, that's probably commonplace in Wisconsin, but most places here it's 10 a.m. But at Hy-Vee, you can buy alcohol at 8 in the morning. Restaurants, if they go out and grab some lunch, they can easily have a beer or two with that. They can hide it in that transaction. I would buy stuff to mask my alcohol so you couldn't smell it on my breath. I had probably bought a pack of gum every week. I would drink a lot of coffee so you couldn't smell it on my breath. And even stuff like cologne. Like I would just use a little dash of cologne to cover up the smell of alcohol. You might notice literal use, and this is the obvious one. You see people drinking at weird times. You see them being intent on drinking in specific situations, stressful situations. Whenever we would pick a restaurant to go to, one of my driving factors was not only do they have beer, do they have good beer? And this one is, this was a wake-up call for me. A good friend of mine, Matt Mancarini, a very close friend of mine, he noticed one time we were out at a craft beer bar when we lived in Sterling, and I was enjoying my beer, but I really wasn't enjoying it because I was already picking out my next beer. It was always chasing the next big thing. And he said to me, he was like, "Why are you looking at," he was like, "just enjoy your beer. Enjoy the one you're drinking right now." And he was joking, but well, that was just an absolute punch to the gut. It was a bit of a wake-up call. So those are for me. And I think that some of those are pretty universal. And all of these are, I shouldn't say all of them, but a lot of these are for somebody who is hiding their drinking. I think what's really hard, obviously a lot of this is really hard when somebody's hiding it from you, but I think what's hard a lot of the time too is when they're not hiding it, and it's hard to see it because that use just feels like everyday life. Because that's what drinking becomes for us. It's a rite of passage. It might be a daily occurrence. I mean, you really can't get through a workday without somebody blurting out, "Oh, it's almost wine o'clock," or "Can't wait to get home and have a drink," or for it to be the weekend so that I can tie one on. Yeah. So this is good stuff in terms of if somebody in your life might be hiding their alcoholism. So here's where things get really hard. Kayla and I were just discussing this earlier. It might be hard to see it. I'm going to talk in the next video about how to see it, but here's the bugger. What do you do when you know it's a problem? How do you help your loved one? Those are incredibly difficult conversations. So we're going to talk about that next time. Check out my Facebook page. Comment below. Direct message me and ask me questions if I can help anyway. But check out that Facebook page and that interesting article that I posted on why liquor stores are still open and considered essential businesses.